Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. We begin with the latest from Asia. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Saudi Arabia for a two-day official visit at the invitation of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. India and Saudi Arabia are expected to sign at least 6 agreements, with discussions also likely to include the Hajj quota for this year. Meanwhile, US Vice President Vance and his family are visiting the Indian city of Jaipur on the second day of his 4-day trip to India. This follows wide-ranging talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi, focused on strengthening cooperation in defense, energy and technology. In West Asia, thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of Israel's Tel Aviv, protesting against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. This comes as anti-government protests flare up, especially following Netanyahu's attempt to dismiss the head of security agency Shin Bet. Protesters called for a hostage deal and Netanyahu's resignation amid ongoing tensions over the war in Gaza. In Europe, Russian President Vladimir Putin proposes bilateral talks with Ukraine for the first time since the early days of the war. This comes as both Kyiv and Moscow say they are open to further ceasefires following the weekend Easter truce. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv is ready to discuss a ceasefire to halt attacks on civilian targets. Shifting focus to the Vatican, Cardinals gathered to plan the funeral of Pope Francis, who passed away at the age of 88 yesterday. World leaders, including President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron, are set to attend the funeral ceremony, which is set for April 26. Meanwhile, a conclave to elect a new pope is also expected to begin early next month. In Australia, early voting in the elections begins today, with reports suggesting that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's Labour Party is holding a slim lead over the Conservative opposition coalition. As many as half of eligible Australians are expected to cast their ballots before the May 3 election date, according to the Election Commission. In Africa, Kenyan President William Ruto is in China on a state visit. This as the African country looks to boost trade, investment and infrastructure. In Beijing, President Ruto is set to hold bilateral talks with President Xi Jinping and address the Kenyan-China Business Forum. In Latin America, President Nicolas Maduro calls for the release of 252 Venezuelans held in El Salvador. This comes after Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele proposes a prisoner swap involving detainees from both countries. Maduro demands proof of life and accused El Salvador of forced disappearances. In the United States, Harvard University sues the Trump administration to block a $2.3 billion funding freeze. The lawsuit says the administration is using federal funds to exert control over academic decisions. This comes after Harvard rejects a list of White House demands, including an end to diversity programs. And President Donald Trump expresses full support for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. This comes as Hegseth faces scrutiny after revealing sensitive military details via an unclassified messaging app. On to climate news now. India's capital, New Delhi, sweltered under its hottest day of the season on Monday as the temperatures hit 41.3 degrees Celsius. This is 3.6 degrees Celsius above normal. The capital's air quality slipped into the poor category. The heat spike followed the weakening of a western disturbance, and surface winds offered little relief. Indonesia's ambitious plan to secure food and energy independence by mass planting rice and sugarcane in South Papua has sparked fears of massive deforestation, potentially the largest in the world. Environmental groups warn the project, already underway with over 11,000 hectares cleared, threatens endangered ecosystems and violates indigenous rights. Athens is planning its first microforest as part of a belated effort to tackle extreme urban heat and climate change. New Mayor Haris Doukas aims to plant 5,000 trees annually, but critics say the plan is insufficient and decades overdue. The densely populated capital, plagued by concrete sprawl and past forest fires, faces growing summer heat waves. In southern Morocco, volunteers marked the International Nomads Festival by collecting up to 600 kilos of plastic waste from the Sahara's edge. The initiative, aimed at protecting desert environments, highlighted the growing threat of the pollution to nomadic communities and livestock. Organizers hope the cleanup sparks a broader movement to preserve both nature and traditional lifestyles threatened by climate change and neglect. U.S. climate nonprofits are preparing for a possible executive order under President Donald Trump that could revoke their tax-exempt status. Reports suggest climate work could be excluded from IRS-recognized charitable activities alongside restrictions on overseas grants. Alarmed groups have held emergency briefings and legal consultations, vowing to fight any regulatory rollback. Moving to business and tech news now, gold extends its record rally, briefly touching $3,500 per ounce earlier today. This surge comes amid concerns over President Donald Trump's criticism of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, which has dampened risk sentiment and driven investors towards safe haven bullion. President Donald Trump meets with U.S. retailers including Walmart, Target and Home Depot to discuss the impact of broad-based tariffs. This comes as major chains warn that steep levies on Chinese imports could raise consumer prices amid ongoing inflation. Meanwhile, U.S. trade officials finalized steep tariff levels on solar cells from Southeast Asia. This comes after American manufacturers accused Chinese companies of flooding the market with unfairly cheap goods. Swiss pharma giant Roche announces a $50 billion investment in the United States over the next 5 years. This comes amid drug makers' efforts to counter tariffs proposed by the Trump administration. Roche plans to create 12,000 new jobs, including 6,500 construction positions. The U.S. Department of Justice begins a historic antitrust case against Google, arguing that strong measures are needed to prevent the company from using its AI products to extend its search monopoly. The DOJ is seeking to force Google to sell its Chrome browser and end exclusive deals with device makers like Samsung. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission sues Uber, accusing the company of enrolling users in its Uber One subscription without their consent and making deceptive claims about the service. Uber denies the allegations, stating that its sign-up and cancellation processes comply with the law. E-commerce company Flipkart says it plans to shift its holding company from Singapore to India. This comes as parent company Walmart prepares to take Flipkart public. The move follows a broader trend of Indian startups relocating home to pursue domestic stock listings. Air India is reportedly in talks to acquire Boeing planes originally built for Chinese carriers. This comes as China halts Boeing deliveries amid escalating trade tensions with the US. The Tata-owned carrier has already taken 41 737 MAX jets, redirected from China through March. Toyota's Hino Motors and Daimler's Mitsubishi Fuso are reportedly moving to finalize a merger agreement. This comes after the company agreed in May 2023 to merge the truck operations by the end of 2024. The companies plan to form a new holding company and list it on the Tokyo Stock Exchange by April 2026. And advisory firms Baker Tilly and Moss Adams announced a $7 billion merger. The deal will create the sixth largest advisory CPA firm in the United States. The merged company is set to operate under the Baker Tilly name, with finalization expected in early June. Moving to sports, we begin with cricket. Gujarat crushed Kolkata by 39 runs in the ongoing Indian Premier League. After taking to the field at the Eden Gardens, the hosts struggled to rein in the visitors. This, as Shubman Gill struck a 90-run innings off just 55 balls, powered Gujarat to a 198-run total. In response, Kolkata could score only 159 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. Chennai head coach Stephen Fleming said the IPL franchise are realistic about their position in the edge of the league. Fleming asserted that the 5-time champions will leave no stone unturned to find right players for the next year. Chennai suffered their 6th loss in the 8 matches after Mumbai handed them a 9-wicket hammering defeat in Wankhede Stadium on April 20th. MS Dhoni's side remain confined to the bottom of the points table. In football, Nottingham Forest beat Tottenham Hotspur 2-1 in the Premier League. Striker Chris Wood scored his 19th Premier League goal for the season in a vital victory for the Forests. Following the win, Forest went up 3 places to the 3rd place on the table, in a major boost to their Champions League qualification hopes. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola said the team needed their fans to quote-unquote make noise during their clash against Aston Villa later today. City are chasing a Champions League qualification and they remain placed on the 4th place with a slim margin. The top 5 teams will make it to the Champions League in the next season. In tennis, Yelena Ostapenko beat women's world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka to win the Stuttgart Open. The unseeded Latvian beat Sabalenka 6-4, 6-1. After the game, Sabalenka addressed her winning opponent and said, "You were a better player than me today." Star British player Emma Raducanu said she intends to continue her coaching with Mark Petchey. Petchey will continue to coach Raducanu on an ad hoc basis following her quarter-final run at the Miami Open last month. In badminton, Indian men's double duo Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty were ruled out of the upcoming Sudirman Cup finals. In a statement, Badminton Association of India said the duo were ruled out of the event due to sickness. The world number 11 men's double pair remains troubled with injuries since the last season. In shooting, India's Simranpreet Kaur Brar won World Cup silver in the women's 25-meter pistol event. The 20-year-old Indian shot 33 hits across 10 rapid-fire series to finish just 1 point behind her Chinese rival. This is India's 4th silver in the ongoing shooting World Cup in Peru, alongside 2 gold and 1 bronze medal. Meanwhile, Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker missed out on a World Cup medal in 25-meter pistol event. Bhaker finished 4th in the event after making a promising 2nd-place finish in the qualifying round. Manu Bhaker has won a total of 22 medals in the World Championships so far in her career. Legendary American gymnast Simone Biles suffered from involuntary muscle freezes or twisties during the 2016 Rio Olympics. Amy Burman, Biles' longtime coach, outlined the story in her new book. Despite the condition in the Rio Olympics, Biles won a silver medal in the women's team event and a bronze medal in the balance team. And finally, from the world of showbiz, Twilight actor Kristen Stewart has married her longtime partner Dylan Mayer. The couple tied the knot at their home in Los Angeles after obtaining a marriage license at a courthouse. Viral images from the ceremony show Stewart in a gold and ivory 2-piece outfit, while Mayer wore a sheer white top with a gold skirt. The pair began dating in 2019 and got engaged in 2021. George Clooney has made the surprising claim that he and his wife, human rights lawyer Amal Clooney, have never had an argument in their 10 years of marriage. The actor said the couple is still waiting to find something to fight about and expressed gratitude for their relationship, calling himself the luckiest man in the world. Dr. Ryan Coogler has confirmed he is working on a reboot of X-Files and has spoken with original series star Gillian Anderson. Speaking on a podcast, Coogler expressed his admiration for the iconic sci-fi series, which ran for 11 seasons. The series starred Anderson and David Duchovny as FBI agents investigating paranormal phenomena. Kendrick Lamar has been named a brand ambassador for Chanel, the fashion house confirmed. The rapper will feature in Chanel's latest eyewear campaign launching April 22. In a statement, Lamar praised Chanel's craftsmanship and legacy. While Chanel does not make men's clothing, Lamar said eyewear was a perfect fit. And finally, singer and activist Lizzo has criticized the White House for using social media to troll citizens instead of implementing real change. Posting on Blue Sky, she called for stronger demands and systematic reform, urging people to take actions that make their pockets hurt. She also emphasized the importance of white people educating themselves on systematic racism and being willing to challenge the status quo. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Russia launches a wave of aerial attacks